Hey, and welcome to this episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. And on this episode, Eddie Chef Coach Madden is back for part two of Messages from Water. So, part one, Eddie talks about different types of water. He goes into some tangible tips that we can use, but really in part two, he hammers it all home. It really brings everything together, everything comes full circle, and we really walk away with just some basic ideas that we can use to improve our water, which in turn improves our life. We're made of a lot of water. And so he really makes it easy. He breaks it down into what we can do in the morning, what we can do throughout the day, and just ways to, as I said, improve our water and improve our life. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. We got a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion, and a lot of wisdom behind this episode from Eddie. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, everyone, welcome back to part two, Messages from Water with Eddie Chef Coach Madden. So we had a great part one. I learned a lot. We had a lot of people that are saying, where's part two? Why is part two taking so long? I want to hear about Charge My Water. I want to hear about other things of water. So Eddie, my friend, welcome back.
We're back, Rob. Part two. Let's go.
So, Eddie, I would love to hear just a quick recap of part one. So anyone who has not listened to part one, the best thing to do right now is to pause this, go back to part one, then come to part two. But just in case you're like, hey, look, I'm already here. I just want to listen to this episode. Eddie, what did people miss in part one? Or what was the general takeaways?
The general takeaways, Rob, was that I claimed in Water Part 1 that I have studied water extensively enough to offer tips and tools for everyday people to help navigate their life and create their dream by boosting their attention and intention to water. What did I just say? I said that by taking really good care of your water, keeping your water in mind, being mindful of the water you drink will help you navigate your life and create your dream.
I love it. And one thing that we're going to touch on in this episode is beyond what we just drink, but the water that goes on our skin and how we can really boost that water. So one thing I really liked about part one is you talked about that intention, the love and gratitude. So would you mind just kind of recapping people on the love and gratitude and how that relates to water?
Masaru Emoto, Japanese medical doctor, water researcher, probably one of the top names when it comes to water scholars, if you will, in the world, in the history of the world. Next to Victor Schauberger and Marcel Vogel, you got Masaru Emoto. And he basically dedicated decades of his life to studying water, especially under close examination of what happens to a water molecule when we give it different influences. When I say we, I mean humans. So he would take 2 samples of water. 1 sample would have people talking to the water, telling the water that they love it, thanking the water for existing, playing, let's say, classical music, which is beautifully composed, coherent, harmonious notes, sounds, right? Influencing the water with those kind of vibrations and watching what happens to it. And then on the contrary, they would use hate, fear, violence, and let's say more unharmonious music that doesn't really have a coherent melody, and then notice what happens to the water then. And what happened to the water has been photographed by Emoto extensively, and it's absolutely remarkable. It's incredible to look at the structure of the water crystals that form in the presence, under the influence of love and gratitude from a human. And then you could have multiple people connecting, which would multiply the power of intention. So intention is, Rob, where we are using our mind and we're using our voice and we're using our mind and our voice to send a vibration out of our body that really can't be measured, right? And then notice what's happening to the water, because it seems that water helps us measure our own intention, which is really fascinating. And for example, if you looked at a water crystal that was formed in the environment of fear and hate and humiliation and, lack of kindness, the crystal would have no coherence at all whatsoever. It would be a really ugly, asymmetrical, I don't even know if you could call it a crystal. The water was confused and distorted. And, that kind of goes into structure, which I do intend on talking on, the structure, the crystalline structure of water. But water has a crystalline structure, and that structure is changing all the time. And our intention, which is created with our voice and our thoughts, and our breath and our, awareness of self, we create intention. And with love and gratitude, we can create beautiful symmetrical crystals in water. And that's what Masato Emoto's work, his whole life work, is to proving that water can measure the quality of intention.
Beautifully said. And one thing that I've really taken action on since we recorded the last podcast was I got a sticker on my water. That was actually given by our mutual friend Jordan, the G golf coach. So he gave me a beautiful sticker that I put on my 6-gallon body of water. So every time I'm pouring from that, it's reminding me, all right, let's put some positive energy here. Let's put some loving energy here. And even if you don't believe that that's making an impact, which, as you said, it's well documented, there you can see the evidence. There are pictures of the evidence of the changes. But even if you don't believe that, what's wrong about having a little bit more gratitude when you're pouring your water? At the very least, you're feeling a little bit better. Your vibration yourself is going up. So that's what I found to be very helpful, is just whenever I'm looking at my water, it's just saying, hey, I'm grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you for nourishing my body. Thank you for being my body, as we are so much water. The vast majority of our body, our cells, our brain, it's all water. So without further ado, we have a lot of different topics to touch on in part 2. So obviously one of them we want to touch on is charging the water that's going on our body, maybe from a shower head. So I'm going to let you rock and roll, my friend.
Yeah, I really just want to close out on what you beautifully said about love and gratitude, and how it is such a treat, or it's a gift to give yourself every day. To have a loving or grateful thought is a gift. And evidence quite strongly suggests that we have 70 to 90,000 thoughts per day. And 90 to 98% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had from the previous day. So if we're talking about thinking and speaking about love and gratitude, who doesn't want more love and gratitude in their life? So if we're bringing a new opportunity into the day where we're going to create new thoughts, which are going to be love and gratitude, we're going to create those thoughts today. That is a new thought pattern. And that represents a very small fraction, percentage of all of our thoughts. So that's new thoughts. We're starting a new day with new thoughts, and we're using it on water, which crazily measures that. Mm-hmm. We can look at water molecules and we see that, whoa, something is happening here by me focusing on love and gratitude. That's, like I said, evidence quite strongly suggests that there's something going on there. There's power to love and gratitude, and an opportunity to create more love and gratitude is waiting for everybody with every glass of water they take. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Big. It's just big deal stuff in my mind.
I want to hop on that real quick before we dive into the next topic. And just the fact that you said 90 to 98% of people's thoughts are the same. So let's just pause and think about that for just a moment before we go any further. How crazy is that? especially when most of those thoughts are negative. We as humans have conditioned ourselves, or have been conditioned, however you want to look at it, that we are on a hamster wheel of negative thoughts, of limiting beliefs, of I can't do this. As Paul Chek says, ant infections. I can't do this. I wouldn't do this. I couldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. All these limiting beliefs. And that's where most of those thoughts are. And those are repeating themselves on a daily basis. So by simply making that one shift, let's say every time you get a glass of water, let's say that's 8 times a day, you pour yourself a glass of water, maybe 10 times a day. That's 8 to 10 times that you are now changing that thought pattern. And now maybe every time you take a sip of water, you're changing that thought pattern. So it's not just the fact that it's one thought. It's a compounding effect, which eventually will change those 90 to 98%. Even if it goes down to 80 to 85%, that's an improvement. So
huge improvement. That's a huge improvement.
So let's not downplay how much impact one thought can have, especially when that compounds over time. So thank you.
Yes. And thank you, Rob, for noticing the profoundness of love and gratitude and the profoundness of our thoughts. And those 98%, the 98% of our thoughts, or let's say 90, they're unintentional, right? We're unintentionally victims to our own thinking, right? So we're dealing with so much that has happened to us in our life as human beings. We are a collection of all the traumas and gifts that have been given to us. But, so there's unintentional thought patterns there. We need intention. Look, right? We want to get ourselves in line with what we want, which brings us back to the intro, to navigate life and create our dream intentionally. Do you want to be creating a life unintentionally, or do you want to be creating a life intentionally? I want to live in Florida. Well, why are you living in Boston? I want to drive a convertible car. Why are you driving a pickup truck? That's like intention. Be intentional about what you want to do. Those are just 2 random examples. Anyway, Rob, we could easily spin off topic here and talk about love, gratitude, and thinking, and I can see the doorway opening, and it looks like a cool door to jump in.
We'll do that another time. We'll say that for another non-water episode. It's all connected, though. But
oh yeah, we're talking about water. I forgot.
All right. So just as you transition here, just a thought that I could think of is, as it relates to water and food in general, you wouldn't, in your convertible analogy reminded me, you're not going to put low-grade fuel into a Mercedes or into a Lamborghini. You're going to be putting the highest quality fuel into that system. So recognizing that we are the vehicle as opposed to the Lamborghini, where you're not putting the low-grade fuel in, let's think of our water and food as the same thing. And for the sake of this conversation, we'll focus on water. So we need to put the highest quality water in ourselves and on ourselves, because our skin absorbs a lot of what it comes in contact with, for better or for worse. So with that transition, how can we charge our water? How can we improve the quality of our water? How can we source the best water? And how can we make sure that the water that's going on our skin or in our body is optimal?
Beautiful. All right. So let's see. Attention to water. Acquire knowledge. Read the books. We went over some 3 great books on water, part 1. We also talked about the different types of water. There are multiple types of water, and they were unknown to me, right? So we want to try to get the best possible water to put into our body, because we are water, right? We're a water structuring device. Water is alive. It's natural. It's wild. It's life-giving. It's ascendant. It's structured. Bad water is stagnant. It's polluted with residues and additives, runoffs. It's dead. It can be, well, if it's polluted, it's not blank. It's actually holding harmful energy. It's predictable. Bad water is piped. It runs in a straight line. Water wants to run unpredictably in a spiral, alive in ever-changing roller coaster type of whirlpool, vortex, if you will. It's unstructured. Plastic water bottle water is not alive. It is very far away from the other side of the spectrum of high quality water. Plastic water bottle water is water that is bulk and forgot that it's alive because it has nothing happening in its environment to make it believe it's alive. It's forgotten what it's forgotten, and it's just sitting there, also creating plastic pollution. So we vote with our dollar, choosing to filter your water. We talked about that with the Berkey filter is a great measure to take, right? Findaspring.com. Go get your own spring water. Get, plastic 5-gallon bottles, or if you can, buy yourself a birthday or a holiday present and get yourself a 5-gallon glass carboy. We have the links on this description. So we're moving through. How can I be attentive to detail? How can I take care of my water? Storing it, right? Where is it coming from? If you're getting water that's not from a mountain, right? If you don't have a spring waterfall in your backyard, how can you get your water up to snuff? How can you really structure it and bring it back to life? Bring it from this bulk storage water or polluted additive tap water or Berkey water that's, is clean, but it's still not alive because it's sitting and it's stagnant. You want to get your water alive and get it restructured, which Carly Newday in her book, Water Codes, goes in depth onto the crystalline structure of water and its structure, and how structured water contains 40,000 times more energy and information than bulk water. Incredible. All water is not the same. So we're moving down. So additives, what you can add to your water. Salt, because salt is a crystal and everything has an electromagnetic frequency. A grain of salt or a huge quartz crystal that costs $10,000 that's in some movie theater's foyer, right? Those both hold electromagnetic frequencies. Everything has an electromagnetic emission, right? And natural entities like stones, plants, animals, humans, we are called native. We have native electromagnetic frequencies because we're native to the earth. The Schumann resonance is the native electromagnetic frequency that's emitted from this beautiful, loving, alive planet that is totally inside you and I, Rob. We are expressions of her. So when you put a little bit of salt in your water, boom, there's an alive, native electromagnetic frequency being emitted into the water. And it's a crystal because it's a salt crystal. And the water's like, holy shit, something's alive in here. What the fuck is going on? Like literally, pardon my French, they're like, whoa. The water starts structuring around it, and it starts to copy the structure of the crystal. And all of a sudden, the lattice crystalline structure at a supramolecular level of the water starts to come together, and it starts to realize it's not just stagnant liquid in a warehouse.
So what type of salt do people add in there?
Real salt from Utah is great. Celtic sea salt is great. Himalayan pink salt is common. However, that is used, they use explosives to mine those salt mines, and there could be a lot of harmful residues in that salt.
Yes.
So you should check the testing on the salt. But I think Celtic sea salt and real salt are great. What do you like, Rob?
There's one right here in Duxbury. It's called Duxbury Salt Works, I believe it's called, and they have some all-natural sea salt, and that's very local, which is something I like to support as well as local businesses. So if you're in the Boston area, that's one that I've been using. It's very strong. It's not like your table salt, so you don't need as much table salt, or you need more table salt than you need the Duxbury salt because it's pure salt. So that's one that I've been really using. And I was using pink Himalayan salt, and it's funny you say that because when I first started taking it, I kind of felt like, I don't know if this is right for me. And then I found out that same research that, they're using explosives to get this stuff out. So you know what? This salt that is marketed to be healthier may not be the best brand. So I'm really glad that you touched on that point. I think that's a very important point to touch on, because a lot of people are really saying, oh, pink Himalayan salt, pink Himalayan salt. Well, let's take a step back and look at the quality of that salt.
Yes, very important to look at the quality of everything we put in our body, because we are what we put in our body. What I've been doing, quick tip for water hydration right in the morning, I put trace minerals, which is from a company called Trace Minerals Research, which I have a lot of confidence in. And they have, for about $30, you can get a concentrated bottle of their trace minerals, which has sodium, potassium, magnesium, and a few others, right into the water. So I'll take 32 ounces of water. I'll put a teaspoon of salt in the water. I'll put, 3, 4, 5, 6 drops of the Trace Minerals Research. Now that stuff has 96 drops. I've had it for like 6 months. It's lasted forever, and it costs $30. I feel great. So every morning I have this salt water mixture right when I wake up. Minerals, water, right when I wake up. And I feel great. It's actually I've been sticking to it. I'm about like 7 or 8 or 9 days into that. I prepare the water before I go to sleep. And Jesus, I feel really good. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that come into, us feeling the way we feel, but the water has a lot to do with it. The salt water mixture right in the morning.
I agree. And I'm glad that you said that, because there's one I've been using here called Ionic Elements, and it's very similar. So this is one that I just, as you said, is in the morning, I take some drops, put it in my water, mix it up, and as you said, kind of get that roller coaster going. So I get that in my glass bottle. I have a glass little water bottle. I spin it up, and then it does have that little charging case to it, that charging feel to it. So that is a great, easy way. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can just add a little salt, add some of these ionic elements, or the one that you're talking about using as well. There's plenty out there. But
What company makes that, Rob?
This is Purium. So this is Ionic Elements by Purium. So this is a great one. Yeah, supercharged activated fulvic acid, ocean and plant-derived trace minerals, purified water. So simple,
Perfect.
to the point, and it's been very effective. As you said, it's cheap. It's like $30, and it's got 80 servings.
That's super. That's really good. So we got the water, the salt water mixture. Right, trace minerals, all those different salt companies are great. Another quick tip, shower waters, right? Your shower filter. Scientific strongly suggests it. I mean, it's real. The skin is absorbing the water it touches, right? The skin is the biggest, is an organ. It's processing all different kinds of things. It's absorbing, it's eliminating. It's incredible. Our skin is incredible. And unfortunately, we put a lot of things on it unintentionally, mindlessly, that affect the body, like water. Good example for any women or even guys that have beautiful hair. Okay. I have great hair. Rob, you have great hair. I don't even know why but a friend of mine, she took a shower at my house for the first time, and she came out. I didn't expect any feedback. I was not talking about anything regarding water quality. And she said, what is up with that shower filter? My hair feels softer than it's ever felt. And she bounces around to different conditioners, and I don't think she had any. She said her hair felt amazing after she took a shower, because there wasn't a lot of hardness in the water. So I'd like to, so we can move through this conversation, I would like to just say that there's 2 great companies for a shower filter. One is Sprite, like the soda. Sprite makes a Chlorine filtration system, which uses redox reactions, which is it's a pretty complicated system, but they're basically converting chlorine to a chloride salt. And then there's Sonaki, Sonaki, like Sonakai. They make the Vita Pure filter. I have both of these rigs connected. The Sprite is the head where the water comes out, and then in between the Sprite and the pipe is the Sonaki, which is a vitamin C ascorbic acid filter, where the water is filtered through a chamber of vitamin C powder. And what that does is it dechlorinates the water. So chlorine is the enemy, and chlorine is bad for the body, real bad.
Well, I think the easiest example I can give about chlorine is going in swimming pools and classic swimming pools. I mean, if I go swimming or go in a hot tub that has chlorine in it, I mean, my skin feels dry. It feels irritated. My skin gets itchy. And I think that is, I mean, there's a lot of chemicals in there, but I think primarily the chlorine, it's like you're basically taking a chemical bath when you're sitting in these things. And for a good 3 days after, my skin just feels dry and itchy. So I'm glad that you touched on the chlorine. And obviously, as you said, it's not just affecting our skin. That's being absorbed into the body. So every time we're taking a shower, we are absorbing some of that water into our body. Or if we're going into walking by, let's say chemicals, for example, we're absorbing some of those in our body. Just like when we breathe it in, we have all these entry points in our body. So it's not about just what's going in through our mouth, but all the other areas as well.
Yeah, I really like it. The body is, a dynamic, ongoing, rebuilding collection of all of the pressures we've experienced our whole life. You could substitute the word pressure for stress or insult, trauma, privileges, whatever but we're just a collection of all of the pressures, right? And, on every given day, we're hit with so many different pressures that the body is dealing with, creating strength from, creating traumas, repressed emotions. But chlorine, bad quality water, we want to try to give the body less junk to deal with every single day, right? So clean water is the big point here, because we have this intimate connection with water, Rob. But every 20 minutes, every 15 minutes, we have a connection with something. We're connecting to something. So, okay, what are we connecting with so frequently every single day of our lives? Because we're connecting to source. We are water. We are made up of million, trillion molecules. A human has a million, trillion molecules, and those molecules are 99% water. Each molecule is 99% water. So what does that tell you? We are water, and every time we drink water or shower in water or come in contact with water, we're connecting to source. And unfortunately, our environment is doing the best job it can of not distorting source. But source, when I say source, I mean water, is very distorted. So we have to put a little effort in the form of attention to kind of clean up, revitalize, and intentionally enhance water, the whole relationship, the connection with showering, bathing. Bathing has a huge value. I spent a lot of time in Esalen and Big Sur in the thermal hot springs. That water is healing. I mean, there's something else to it. It's a different consciousness, but we are water. Water is not just a thing we drink. We are water, and you're connecting with water. You have a relationship with water. Do you want to have an unintentional, abusive, ignorant relationship with water, or do you want to have a sacred, intentional, loving, grateful relationship with water? Because water is the source. We are water. The only reason we can do anything we can do is because of water.
I think I'll take that second option there. I think I'll take the loving option.
Yeah.
So let's move on to how to charge the water. So you gave a few tips of the different salt compounds and all that. But on the last episode, we kind of touched on charging the water. Water chargers. You have a water charger on your house. You talked about electromagnetic frequencies, native ones. We have positive ones as humans, plants, rocks. There's also negative compounds, such as electromagnetic frequencies from Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, all these other non-native varieties. So how can we ground our water? How can we create a way to charge that water? So I would love to hear your thoughts on that, your approach on that, and it looks like you're bringing us to the water charger itself.
Yes, I am. That's it. Right? So this is called going from regular level water geek to super geek, water super geek. And a lot of people listening might not want to go to super geek. They might not be ready for super geek. But this is it.
So what's the background of this? How does it work? Because anyone who's just listening and cannot visually see it, there is
Yep.
a fairly sizable stack of rocks, and I've seen it myself, so I know that it's hollow. It's like an igloo. It's hollow on the inside, and
Yes.
it's stacked around with large rocks filling in all the cracks. So how does it work? Why do you do that? And what's the science behind that?
So sometimes I call it a biodynamic water charger because what it's using is the electromagnetic native. A non-native is, something that comes from an electric device. That is using native electromagnetic frequencies to, remember, tell the water it's alive. Remember, water wants to get back to life. It wants to get back to that flowing down the mountain. It wants to get back to that vortexing, that spiraling life that water has that makes it so energetic. So that is an igloo. Let's call it an igloo. It's a biodynamic water charger. And I put my water in glass in the middle. And I sit it in there for at least 24 hours, usually 24 to 72 hours, I put water in there. So what's happening here is I studied with Paul Chek at his house, and he taught me and a few other people how to do this. We talked about it. We spent a whole day on it. And what's happening here is that, remember how I said salt gives off an electromagnetic frequency? A small salt grain. Everything gives off an electromagnetic frequency. So a bigger rock gives off a stronger magnetic frequency than a small rock. So now there's also a charge that comes off of different stones. For example, a white stone has a very, let's call it yang energy. For example, it doesn't get hot in the sun, right? Because it has yang energy. Opposites attract. So sunlight is not going to heat up a white rock the way it would heat up a black rock. A black rock gets really hot because a black stone is a very yin. It has a quality of yin energy, receptive energy. It's attracting that sunlight, and that's why a black stone gets hot. Now, the moon is the opposite of the sun. Let's call the moon is yin energy, and the sun is yang energy. So all of these stones that I have in this charger, some are dark, some are light, some are in the middle. But what we want to do is we want to create a circuit because energy connects. Remember we said opposites attract. The sunlight goes to a black rock. The sunlight does not go to a white rock, but the white rock gets charged by the moon. What happens here is there's a circuit. So when we go black rock, white rock, black rock, white rock around the base of the circle, it creates a circuit of electromagnetic energy because the energy wants to move through. And what happens is we greatly, greatly increase the power of the electromagnetic vibration that's coming off of maybe one rock when we put all these rocks in circuit together. So you have white, black, and they're kind of all, so you have this spiraling energy, if you will, like this vortex of electromagnetic energy around this stone igloo. So the electromagnetics are moving around. And then you have in the middle is you have this water. And the water is influenced by the electromagnetic, this increase, this amplified electromagnetic circuit that was created, right? That's absorbing electromagnetic energy from the sun. It's absorbing electromagnetic frequency from the moon. And it also will absorb electromagnetic energy from an electrical unit. So you would not want to build one of these near a Wi-Fi router because that would interfere. What happens here is that circuit is created and we have a coherent energy pattern that's moving around within these stones. And now the water is a liquid crystalline substance that is out of structure on the molecular level because it hasn't been, say, flowing out of a mountain. So say it's plastic water bottle water. I put it in a glass bottle. All of a sudden, the unstructured lattice form of this crystalline matrix that's at the molecular level of water, it's influenced by the electromagnetic movements of the circuit created by the stone charger. It's really wild. And for example, if there's a full moon, that will be a very hard water. If there's a new moon, it'll be a very soft water, almost absorb into your tongue. It just feels really soft. If there's a full moon because the moon and the sun they're the major power centers for this charger. They're taking energy from the moon and the sun, and they're amplifying their own energy, and then that's bringing the water structure into coherence, and the water is remembering that it's alive.
Beautiful. I love it. And it's something too that having experienced being around your water and drinking your water, I can definitely say that there's a difference, and it's subtle. It's very subtle. It's not like you're drinking this and comparing, let's say, a beer to a hard liquor. It's not like that variation. It's subtle. However, it's noticeable. And I think that's one thing that when we've had people at your house for an ice and iron event or something like that, people are always like, oh, the water's really good here. Oh, the water's great here. And it's not just the fact that, yes, you're sourcing it from a great spring, but there's also all these other measures involved. And a little practical tip that I've been using on the topic of electromagnetic frequencies is I tried to keep on my desk right now, my water is on one side of my desk, my phone is on the other. They're not next to each other. I'm trying to keep my phone and any other sort of electromagnetic frequency that is non-native from an electrical unit away from my food, away from my water. And it's something that seems, oh, that might be a pain in the butt sometimes, but the fact of the matter is, all it takes is a little mindfulness. And that can make a huge difference because, as you said, we want to avoid adding more stress and destructuring the nature of that water and really focus on restructuring that water. So just to kind of really come full circle with all the tips we shared, adding a little salt, charging the water, and that could even be something as simple as keeping it away from your phone, keeping it away from your computer, keeping it away from your microwave. Have your water somewhere that's away from an electrical unit. And I want to hear your thoughts. If someone, let's say, doesn't have space for a water charger, they don't have the rocks for a water charger, would there be benefit to simply leaving outside next to a pile of rocks, next to some plants? Is there a benefit to that?
Definitely. You could even just take, a dozen rocks, white, black, and form a circle of those rocks and just put a glass bottle of water. It's going to structure it. Or even if you just took a couple rocks and dropped a couple rocks into the water, believe it or not, if it was a clean rock, it would structure the water. But the stones to use, if you're going to put it inside your water, is salt, right? Salt is structuring it. A quick little tip, a quick little piece of information, Rob. Biodynamic farming, the most advanced system of farming, hands down on the planet, produces the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. Fact. They have a very, very sacred practice around structuring their water by hand. Remember we said in water part 1 and earlier that the human body is a water charger. They get in circles. A biodynamic farm, they structure the water in a bucket with their hand, right, that may be dead, and they swirl it. When you go into biodynamic farming fellowship, they teach you over and over and over again and teach you these concepts of structuring water. What they'll do is they'll spiral the water in a bucket, then they'll do like 20 turns, then they'll reverse turn, create chaos in the water, and get it spinning in the other way. And they'll do that over and over and over again before they apply the water to their biodynamic preparations and the compost mounds And they have experimented with this and took samples that didn't have structured water and did have structured water, and the comparison to their crop yield was profound. So water is alive, but it forgets that it's alive. It becomes dead, and we are what we drink. The more attention and intention we want to put into the water, the more attention and intention we're putting into our life. Do we want to be intentional, Rob, or do we want to be unintentional? We don't. We want to be intentional.
I agree. And so my takeaways from what we've shared today and in part one, so not all water is the same. I think that's pretty clear. We can really change our lives by changing the quality of our water. We are water. That's pretty straightforward. I think that there's the belief, oh, we're 70% water. The earth is 70% water. Well, if you really boil down to cellular level, we might be closer to 90-something% water. So we are water. Water is important. Water is a great source of fuel for us. Also, there's ways to improve the quality of our water if we don't have access to the best water. But there are tools like Find a Spring. You can find a natural spring water. You can add things like salt. You can charge your water, connect it with nature, avoid non-native electromagnetic frequencies, keep your water away from Wi-Fi, from your phone, computer, microwave, whatever it is, and really focus on the water that's going on your body as well. So whether that's from every time you're washing your hands and then you're putting your hands in your mouth, you may be getting some of that non-congruent water in our bodies. We want to really get those shower filters. So what other takeaway points as we wrap up and come full circle here can people do? What can people do right now to improve the quality of their life and their water? Because as another key point that I think that we touched on is the matter of that we have 90 to 98% of the same thoughts every day. And by changing just our thought around water, that's going to compound into every other aspect of our life. So what can someone do today? They can add some salt. They can charge their water. Anything else that they can do to really supercharge their water in their life?
How about this? This is what I do. I love you and thank you. Sometimes I might not say it out loud, but I will take a second. I'll say, I love you and thank you. I say it. I say it out of my heart. I'm sending that vibration to the water. Even if everything that we have spoken about in these two podcasts is erroneous, it's not actual. Isn't it nice to at least say, I love and thank you. I love you and thank you. You're saying I love you and thank you for the gift that it is to be on this planet. I love you and thank you. I love you and thank you. That's just a good, healthy thought. It's a good statement. Even if you're too embarrassed to say it around your family and friends because you're like, what's wrong with you, dude? You just say I love you and thank you. Who the fuck are you talking to? Me? No, I'm talking to my water. Like you may feel embarrassed. You don't want to do that. So just take a second, look at your water and think it. I love you and thank you. Then glass, salt, minerals, shower filter, drinking filter, right? Keep your water away from sunlight. Keep your water away from electromagnetic frequencies that are non-native, that are from, TVs, modems, Wi-Fi, cell phones. Take care of your water. Keep it in a cool place. If you want to go to super geek status, you could start collecting rocks and create a biodynamic water charger in your garden. Even a one-row one that's right on the ground that could have rocks, maybe not even the size of my fist. That's going to structure water. You could go crazy. You could build a nice little stone igloo like I did in my garden. And people look at it and they say, wow, there's some real weird stuff going on with this person. And that's great. And they don't know if it's moonshine or if it's water or if it's, and they don't know because they don't understand it. And that's okay because I understand that it's fun and I like putting attention into my water. And I'm healthy enough to have a nice conversation with you, Rob, on your beautiful podcast, and to be heard by you and any of the audience is great. And yeah, just intentional living, right? I think that's the key.
It is. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that one practice I like to utilize as well, along with the I love you and thank you to the water, is just just pausing and breathing. I like to do that before I eat, before I drink water, and I find that one, it just grounds me. And as you said, it's that intentional living, at that mindful living, that mindful awareness. And at the very least, if we are focusing and putting attention and intention into our water, we are living in the present moment. We're not checking our phone while we're drinking water or reading something on the computer or watching a video. If we're taking that moment to pause, to breathe, to say I love you and thank you, at the very least, that's calming our body. That's helping us relax. That's helping us reduce stress at the very least. So I love everything you shared. As always, you have a lot of wisdom on water. Where can people learn more about you? Because you know more than just about water. You've got a great wealth of knowledge in the world of health. So what's the best place for people to find you, to connect with you, and learn more?
Yep. Like before, my cell phone is 617-212-0895. My email is edward.madden, EDWARD.madden, MADDEN, the number 4@gmail.com. Chef Coach Madden on Instagram, chef_Madden, 2 underscores, Madden. Yeah, and reach out to you, Rob. You can always get in contact with me. And it's been a privilege and a delight to connect again and talk about, the source of everything, I think, in my mind, on this planet, in this dimension, is water.
Beautiful, my friend. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, for shining the light and teaching me about water. It's something that I knew was important, but you've really pressured me in a good way to step it up to the next level. And that's where I think that's what a lot of this comes from. Is just once you're aware, you recognize of how important this is, and then by connecting with other like-minded people and people that know more than you in certain areas, that's where magic is happening. And I just posted a quote today about, or a philosophy today about pushing our comfort zone. And I think this is something for a lot of people who's going to be pushing that comfort zone because they may feel uncomfortable. It's going to be a change to go get spring water. It's going to be a change to go buy some of these salt compounds. It's going to be a change to start saying I love you and thank you to that water. And that may be uncomfortable. And that's okay. That's part of the growth journey. And the way I see it is that's where we're all trying to do is push our comfort zone a little bit, grow a little more, and be happier and healthier. So, Eddie, thank you for being here, my friend. Have a great day.
You too, buddy.
All right. Peace, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Whole Health of the Rob Carney podcast with our guest, Eddie Madden, for part 2 of Messages from Water. So if you haven't already listened to part 1, I would highly recommend checking that out. Or you can listen to Eddie's story. We also did a podcast together a few months back, so you can check that out as well if you want to learn more about Eddie. And I'll put all of his contact info in the description here. You can text him, call him at his cell number. And you can also find him on Instagram at chef_coach__Madden. So if you find him there, that's a great place to find him. And again, check out the podcast that we've done. We've done a couple now. And this podcast is brought to you by our superfood sponsors. So as Eddie mentioned, there are some great tools that we can add to enhance our water and enhance our nutrition. So one of the products that we talked about are the Ionic Elements by Purium. So that's one that I've been using in addition to their green juices, their pre-digested vegan aminos, some of their red juices, which is beet juice, their chocolate protein, which has chaga mushrooms, a bunch of other mushrooms, digestive enzymes, herbs, maca root, you name it. So I've been really using these products for about 13 months now. So it's been quite a while, and I've really seen a change in my energy. I've seen a change in my skin, my overall mental clarity. So when we change the fuel in our body, as we talked about with the gasoline analogy, when we're putting high-grade fuel in our body, things are going to change. It's inevitable. If you're changing your fuel, you're going to change your life. So if you go to ishoppurium.com and use the code wholehealth, you will save $50 or 25% on your first order, whatever's the greater savings there. And if you're interested in really enjoying these superfoods and sharing them with others, you can shoot me a message and we can talk about getting you a referral code for yourself that you can save people $50 as well. So just shoot me a message on Instagram at wholehealthconnections, or if you prefer email, wholehealthconnections@gmail.com. Another one of the groups I work with is Mushroom Revival. So they have lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, all these really powerful adaptogenic mushrooms. So they're really good at whatever you need. Mycelial brain, for instance, lion's mane, they're really good for brain health, mental clarity, focus. You got cordyceps for energy, stamina, reishi for that restorative vibe and the immune health. So that's called the mushroom of immortality, that reishi. So if you go to mushroom-revival.com and use the code wholehealth, you'll save 15% on your every order. And also there's a group that I've talked about with the electromagnetic frequencies, as we mentioned. It's for non-native electromagnetic frequencies. Aries Tech chips are basically transformers. They transform these non-native EMFs into EMFs that our body can handle. They really make them digestible for the body. They don't eliminate all of it because otherwise our devices wouldn't work. So they just take away a bit of the harm that they do, as they cause a lot of distress in the body, distress in our water, distress in our food, and any native electromagnetic frequency that's going to interrupt. So you can go to ariestech.com and use the code wholehealth and you'll save 10% on every order that you get with them. So between Purium, Mushroom Revival, and Aries Tech, use the code wholehealth. In between those three, you're going to find something you enjoy. And I always say start with the Purium products because they have so many good things. They have a wide variety of basic nutrition. Again, you can enhance your water by adding the Ionic Elements, get some green juice in there, get some amino acids, clean out the gut. You know, whatever you need, Purium's got it, Mushroom Revival's got it, and Aries Tech is going to protect you from those non-native EMFs. So again, thank you for listening to this. Please check out Eddie. Check out our previous podcast. Check him on Instagram. Give him a buzz. He's always happy to chat. And again, you can always learn more at wholehealthconnects.com. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day, my friends.